So we're just going to start off in a seated position. Hands are in the lap. We take a deep breath in through the nose and a soft, full breath out of the nose. With every exhale, we allow the out-breath to melt the body down even more. This means that the forehead softens, the eyebrows relax, the cheeks soften, the jaw relaxes, the shoulders melt down, the muscles that hold the spine up soften. And we just allow ourselves to become heavier and heavier with every out-breath. Because we're so relaxed through the physical body, through the torso, the in-breath is full, it expands completely into the body. The base two corners of your pelvis, the top two corners of your shoulders, we're here for 3 more breaths. Just allowing ourselves to settle into the body. And when you're feeling ready, we're going to send both legs out in front. We slide the left leg up and in towards you until the sole of the foot is on the inner right thigh. We're going to frame the right leg and just soften down here. If we were in a yang practice, we would be thinking about a long engaged spine. We'd be thinking about bringing as much length into our body as we can. But in our yin practice, we allow the foot to soften and fall wherever it wants. The knee melts down. The spine completely relaxes. If this creates a pulling sensation on the back of your knee, then we can fold up a blanket and place it behind the knee, or maybe a pillow or cushion, just to avoid it overstretching through that area. We're just here for 2 minutes, allowing ourselves to begin to introduce that yin energy to our body slowly. Often our day-to-day life can place us in a little bit more of a yang energy. The more we have to do, the more we can do. The more active the body is, the more wired the mind becomes. The more active the mind, the more alert the nervous system and the body. So it's always this kind of cyclical effect. And it can be quite uncomfortable to change states quite quickly. So when we take maybe a yang energy and place it in a yin pose, it's normal to feel restless. It's normal for your mind to wander away to anything but the present, especially at the start of your session, which is why we spend a little bit less time in these first few poses. We relax the muscles as much as we can. Whilst we do focus on the flexibility of the muscles as a secondary benefit, we're mostly focusing on the range of motion of our body in yin. We're focusing on the deep yin tissues, the joints, and how lubricated they can be from these lovely deep stretches. The bones, and improving their density through these long still holds. We improve the elasticity of the fascia, the ligaments and the tendons, improving their length and their strength so that we can move a little bit easier, a little bit more supported. When you're feeling ready, we walk the hands up. We draw this leg nice and long. We're going to swap sides. We often do counter poses in yin, but sometimes we can do both sides when we're doing unilateral movements and then move on to our counter pose afterwards. So we're going to relax down, framing the left leg this time. The right leg is as close towards you as you feel comfortable with. If this movement is not comfortable for your leg, you could draw it out to the side instead. We allow a softening down, become heavy, observe how the breath floods into your back body, into your torso. Yin is often likened to meditation, and it's a form of moving meditation. This can be both easier and more difficult than traditional seated meditation. It can be easier to focus because we do have another focal point to keep us present. We have the sensations of the pose, which we'd always like to stay at around a 7 out of 10 intensity. We don't want it to be so gentle that the mind just wanders away. But we don't want it to be so intense that all we can think about is when the pose will be over. We want a perfect in between, about a 7 out of 10. Whilst it can be slightly easier to focus due to this additional focal point, it can also be very challenging because as we tap into the body, it's thought that we store emotions, tensions, memories, all sorts within our superficial layers and our deep layers of the body. And through these deep stretches, we're targeting both. We're releasing tension from the muscle, from the fascia, and from these deep, deep areas. It's thought that all tension that we store within the body is likely originated from the mind, or most. And that as we allow this tension to just enter back into our awareness, that it's normal for them to feel weightier or heavier. It's normal for these thoughts, feelings, or emotions to almost feel like they're demanding your attention, guiding you away from the present. When in yin, we'd like to stay in a state of non-doing. So even if thoughts feel as though they demand our awareness, demand our attention, we just observe them. We can allow ourselves to visualize them just in front of your head. This creates a layer of separation between you and the thought. The thought doesn't belong to you. It's just something that you are experiencing in the present, you being the observer. You're not your thoughts, you're not your habitual patterns. You're not responsible for responding, reacting, or carrying the conversation on. You're not responsible for going back in the conversation and wondering where it came from. You don't have to reject it and aim for complete silence. And you don't have have to pull it in and attach meaning and identity to it either. It just exists in stillness as part of your present moment, just as the breath is, just as the sensations you feel and the sounds you hear are part of your present moment. When we do this for long enough, it begins to lose its intensity and its weight. And from there, that's when we start to observe other elements of your present, such as the sensations. We guide it back to the physical as much as we can once we've observed the thought. When you're ready, we're going to walk our hands up lovely and tall. We're going to send our leg out nice and long. And for our counter pose here, we're just going to lay down. Your back has been folded forwards, so it's going to likely want a little bit of a rest. The legs have been in a nice bent position, so it's likely that they'll want to stretch out long. We allow ourselves just to draw our arms down by our side, legs out long. This is a very simple counter pose, but very effective. The counter poses, you'll probably feel a benefit in the hips, in the knees, and that benefit might just feel like you're realigning, readjusting, just allowing the body that's been working hard by relaxing into a deep pose, just resetting and feeling more comfortable. However, there's actually a lot more going on than that. We're not just working with the skeleton, with the muscles, and with everything in between. We're also working with the energy body. Yin yoga, acupuncture, reflexology, tai chi, all these practices base themselves around a traditional Chinese medicine theory that there are ley lines running through our body, and that these ley lines, also known as the meridian system, carry prana, also known as chi or energy or life force. This life force is thought to bring with it a sense of harmony, a sense of balance and joy and well-being, a sense of unconditional love. The meridians splay off in different directions, and each meridian relates to a different internal organ and a different emotion. Those emotions exist on spectrums from negative to positive. And when out of whack or out of balance, it's thought that we can feel excess or lack of certain emotions, and sometimes completely cut off altogether. So when we take these poses, which we're coming into our next one now, where we draw the left leg up towards us and just hug it in to start, interlacing over the shin, we begin to stimulate and compress and stress through certain meridians. This is with the intention to encourage energy flow through that area. When you're ready, we're going to shine the left sole of the foot towards the sky and hook your biggest toe and begin to relax down into that leg. Now, if the biggest toe feels way out of reach, that's absolutely fine. You could take the outer foot, although for some this will feel more intense. You could grab a belt and hook it around the foot and just hold the belt with your hand. Or if you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed by those three, then you can just hook the back of the leg and go for more of an aligned position. In the happy baby variations, we're thinking about this leg falling outwards a little bit. The knee starts off aiming towards the armpit, but then as you relax down, it's normal for your leg to fall outwards a bit, further back a bit, And wherever your leg lands once you have relaxed your muscles is your perfect version of this pose today. There is no perfect aesthetic in yin. It's all about how it feels. We allow a constant heaviness. We allow that switching off. If it feels too intense with the right leg long, you can bend that right leg for a little bit more support and a little bit less of the stomach and spleen meridian focus. If we do keep that leg long, then we'll start to tap into meridians that relate to feelings of joy and contentment. Allow a complete softness through your forehead and your jaw, through your cheeks and your eyebrows, through the lips and the shoulders, through the back, through the target area. The sensations of the pose should always be getting slightly gentler as we progress throughout the pose. Because we are surrendering down physically, there is a lack of resistance. And it's thought to be the resistance that creates the discomfort for the most part. So for as long as the pose feels right for you, meaning there is no sharpness, no pain, no tightness or pinching, then you just surrender with gravity. Trust in your awareness of your body to know what's right for you. And that commitment to stillness comes on the condition that the pose does feel right for you. So if you come into the pose and you know that intuitively it's not quite right for your body, then we do allow ourselves to move out, find your edge, find your perfect position. Make any accommodations that you need, such as pillows, blankets, blocks, belts. We can bring the ground up to us. We can change the effect of gravity by using things like pillows so the leg doesn't fall quite so deep. When you're feeling ready, we're moving on to a next pose where we keep the right leg long if it's not already. We release the left leg into a 90-degree bend, and then we're going to draw that leg over towards the right side of the room. We're going to plant the right hand on the outer left thigh, and then we have the option to deeply bend your right leg, like so. So this is a bit of a combination. This is a twisted roots pose, which would be the right leg straight, left leg bent and reaching over to the right side of the room. And then it's a combination between this and your cat pulling its tail, where we deeply bend the right leg, taking the foot into the left hand, but you would extend the left leg in cat pulling its tail. Here we're going to keep it bent for a little bit more of a gentle pose. You can prop that knee up on a pillow or a bolster, and then we soften down. Allow a relaxation through the forehead, all the way down to the toes. We focus on the target area being soft and relaxed. And for as long as it feels right for you, intuitively, then we begin to soften. We surrender down with gravity. We enter into that state of acceptance and allowing. we know that when the mind is anxious, the body can become tense and stressed. It can become jittery. And we know that when the body is in a certain state, such as hungry, tired, it can affect the mind. We know how the state of one affects the state of the other, and how interconnected the breath, the body, the nervous system, the mind all are. Whilst we can't tell the mind to be relaxed and expect it to be relaxed, we can place the body in a state of stillness, in a room of silence for the most part. We can allow the body to become relaxed and in a state of yin-like surrender, and in time expect the mind to follow into that same yin-like essence. When the mind is in a yin-like essence, it simply means that you're in a meditative state, a state of non-doing. When you're in a state like this, we don't need the mind to be perfectly void of thought. We don't need complete stillness at every moment. All we aim for is to be non-doing, other than observing the present moment. We're just existing, taking it all in, observing the sensations in your body, witnessing thoughts as and when they arise. The thoughts come up, but we don't engage. We're observing from the viewpoint of the witness rather than the mind. However you choose to see these different parts of the self in day-to-day life, when practicing meditative practices such as yin, it can help to segment them into separate parts. The observer, or consciousness or awareness, always learning, always there, but often in the back seat. In the front seat is often the ego, which can be full of fear-based thoughts, always trying to protect us. The identity, habitual thoughts, thoughts from the animal brain. However you choose to segment the thoughts that you experience, we allow them to be separate from you, the observer. Because we're in a state of non-doing, we don't have to go back and work out where the thought came from. We don't have to work out if we've released it from our body. We don't have to change anything. We don't have to set a to-do list, to meditate more, to change our habitual thinking. All we do is shine a spotlight on the inner workings. It's not about having to change or be different. It's just about being exactly as you are and witnessing yourself for that. When you're feeling ready, we're going to guide ourselves back through center. Guide the knees together and the feet as wide as your mat so that your lower back can have a really nice release here. The lumbar spine just relaxes down heavy. And we become soft. When we work with the meridian body, it's thought that whilst we are helping ourselves tap into individual emotions, such as in our twist, we're tapping into the gallbladder, which relates to feelings of release, forgiveness, and letting go. And when we are out of balance, maybe more like bitterness and resentment, So when we practice these poses, we're just allowing ourselves to encourage a lovely flow of energy through that area. Not so that we feel happy and completely releasing and letting go of everything all the time. It's more about being able to feel a healthy balance. We want to be able to feel a full range of human emotion. We want to be able to move up and down a scale easily. There is no good or bad in yin. We don't label right or wrong, correct or incorrect, us or not us. We just observe and accept constantly. Just as we allow the body to come into a state of non-doing, we allow the mind to enter into that same state. A state that it often doesn't have permission to in everyday life, where we're always being demanded to respond or react or create an opinion. In yin is your time to just exist. When you're feeling ready, we slide the left leg long, we draw the right leg into a bend. We start off with an interlace, just to allow the legs to fall into position a little bit. When we do this, it just allows us to ease ourselves into the position slowly, rather than all at once. Shine the right sole up when you're ready, and we deepen into the pose. You could bend your left leg to make the pose less intense, or extend it long for more intense. We don't have to match what we did on one side with the other. We just allow ourselves to relax however feels right for you. We allow as much of the body to be soft as we can. So even though the arm is active here, the shoulders, the torso, the head, the face, the legs are completely soft. In some poses, it can be hard to relax down some of the body, but as long as we're targeting and releasing down the target area, that will bring us the most benefit. And then as much of the body we can bring into a yin-like state, the easier it is for the mind, the nervous system to follow. Allow the breath to be full and deep. Complete inhales and complete exhales. It's thought that when we lull the mind into that state of just existing, that yin-like essence where we can just observe without the need to do anything at all, it's thought that this is amazing for many of our cognitive functions. So a lot of research has been done into this meditative type state. And when we allow our mind to enter into that state of just observation, present momentness, it's thought to be amazing for your mood. It can reduce burnout. It can bring a sense of calm and quiet and clarity. And in a more long-term sense, it can improve our attention, our memory, and then some days we won't be able to get into this lovely yin-like state. On those days we place no pressure on ourselves, on where we're at. We don't force ourselves to feel a certain way, to be a certain way. We just meet ourselves exactly where we're at. We send complete acceptance to the entire self. We don't label or judge. We just accept. Even though we can't get into that meditative type state some days, That constant repetition of observing when the mind has wandered and guiding your awareness back to present is amazing for creating that habit. It's thought that we can actually change the brain and create these neural pathways so that often that when you're walking around in day-to-day life, you'll be more likely to notice that you're not present, maybe that you're stressed or feeling tense, and just allow yourself to enter into that state of release and surrender, acceptance of what is in the moment, observation of what is in the moment, and just return to complete present momentness. When you're feeling ready, we send the left leg long. We draw the right leg into a deep bend, around a 90-degree bend if we can. And then we draw that right leg over towards the left side of the room. So we have one of two options here. One is that we plant the left hand on top of the right thigh and relax into twisted roots pose. A lovely twist for the spine, a lovely deep stretch for the outer thigh, kidney and liver meridians. Or we can deeply bend that left leg, taking it into your right hand. If we do this, we're not only also including the stomach and spleen meridians, as well as the gallbladder through the twist, and the kidney and liver through the deep outer leg twist, but we're also gently arching through the lumbar spine, which can tap into the urinary bladder meridian. So theoretically, this pose could be tapping into all 6 of the lower body meridians, which are thought to start or end in the toes and the base of the foot. When we come into our counter poses, which we will come into in a moment, our final counter pose of Savasana, the energy that we've been compressing or stimulating within the poses themselves has this lovely free-flowing channel. And not only are we stimulating and encouraging that flow through the meridian system, but we're releasing tension from the surrounding areas, creating a clearer pathway. It's thought that not only physical tension can create blockages of energy, also known as energy blocks, but also emotional blockages, emotional tensions, energetic tensions, mind-based originated tensions. So it's not just the physical that we're working with in yin. We're working with the energies. We're bringing balance into the yin-yang energy. We're shining a light on tensions that exist in the mind-body connect. We're releasing and clearing by simply shining a spotlight. You don't need to do anything else. Sometimes simply acknowledging and observing what we hold in our body, in our mind, in our energy can be enough to release, to lessen its hold. There's a saying, what we face, we conquer. So it's just about bringing into the surface of our consciousness what we hold within us and trusting our highly intelligent energy body, physical body, mind, and subconscious, just to do what it does best. We're doing the hard work in our poses, sticking with the intensity, breathing through sensations as and when they arise. And then we just trust and leave the rest up to our body, up to our energy. The prana that we're encouraging to flow through us, this life force or energy, it's always flowing to you and through you. We don't need to actively recruit more, as we already have this abundance. What we're doing in yin is releasing the resistance to that abundance. When we release resistance physically, energetically, mentally, naturally it can just flow through us with ease. People view this energy differently. Some people view it as the thing that connects everyone. Some people view it as this abundance of well-being and joy. Some people view it as consciousness itself. However you choose to view this lovely prana, energy, life force that gives us this lust for life, this sense of balance, that brings with it health, we allow ourselves to think in this last second or last breath of this pose, just how we're encouraging it in our body. When you're ready, ease back through center and draw the legs long. Now, for the spine, you might feel more comfortable with the legs long but bent, or maybe even propped up onto something, such as a bolster, pillows, or a sofa. Wherever you are, we're coming into our Savasana. Allow heaviness through the forehead. And softness through the cheeks and the jaw. If your mind begins to wander, we enter back into that meditative state. It's normal for your mind to wander a little bit more in your Savasana. When we're in the poses, we have these intense sensations to keep our awareness present. But when we're in our Savasana, we only have those subtle energy movements. We can focus on the breath, the sounds we can hear, the heaviness of the body on the ground, the temperature of the air. But sensation-wise, it's those subtle prana movements, sensation of blood flow, heartbeat, breath flow. The stillness of the body can highlight those subtle energy movements, similarly to how the silence of the present moment can give volume to thoughts that do arise. Whilst we don't pay these thoughts extra energy and attention, we can observe them, but we don't engage. We can occasionally have thoughts arise known as soul whispers. These thoughts intuitively feel a little bit different to other thoughts and are thought to come from a slightly different place as well. Coming from the higher self, the wise self. They can often arise when we allow a quietness in the mind. With that in mind, we're just going to plant a sankalpa, a seed that we're going to carry with us throughout the week to come. We're going to plant it with a resolve that it will grow and manifest in the subconscious mind We don't have to do anything other than plant the seed. It could be something that's come up in your session, something that's positive, reinforcing, and you'd like to bring that into your week. It could be simply the phrase, I am. It could be I am followed by something positive such as love or balance or yin. I am calm, I am well rested. When you're feeling ready, slowly bring movement into your fingers and your toes. Slowly roll onto one side and make your way up into comfortable upright position.